started working in a hospital kitchen when I was in high school. So I started as a dietary aide. I had no interest at that time to pursue a career in food and nutrition management. I was actually kind of swaying towards the IT, information technology kind of world. And once I got into university, I continued to work in the hospital kitchen part-time on weekends, which suited my schedule. But also I was able to learn some additional tasks. I had moved into the diet office. So I worked both as a diet technologist or a nutrition tech in some cases that they're referred to, and as a diet clerk. So I was able to learn some systems pieces and really kind of understand that back of the house. Upon graduation, so I did pursue a degree in administration and information management. And upon graduation, wouldn't you know it, computerized, it was an IT coordinator in food services actually came up available. It was a job share position. So I applied and I was successful in getting it. I was able to apply the knowledge that I had gained as a frontline worker, and kind of understanding operations in hospital kitchens. We were a full production kitchen at that time with cook chill and all kinds of operation happening. This was in the late 80s, early 90s. And I was able to apply the IT world as well to that. And what I realized very quickly was that this was definitely my forte and something that I wanted to continue doing. So I went back to school and did the food and nutrition management program, and then just kind of elevated from there. I have worked in 3 large acute care hospitals in food and nutrition, had various roles in retail and in patient food services, coordinator roles, and then took on support services where I kind of expanded my manager position to include environmental services, portering, waste and linen, and now have landed on the director position. So I was very fortunate that I had the opportunity to work with some really good managers in my initial position in a hospital kitchen. And they always encouraged and said to me, you really need to look at a career in food services. You're really dedicated. It's your forte. You enjoy coming to work. You love the patient interaction and so forth. And I really never, took it seriously because I had made up my mind that I was going to be doing administrative type work and, kind of IT work. And then as I started to have opportunities to grow within the department, so to a diet clerk, to a diet tech, I did work as a part-time food service supervisor as well for a little while. I realized that, this is what I really like doing. And I'm glad that I had those, managers that mentored and encouraged, and helped me make those decisions. They actually supported my education as well and provided me, with some finances when I went back to school to do the food and nutrition management program. So that to me too was, they were committed to me, but I was also committed to learning and making sure that I was going to be a long-term employee, and do something worthwhile in the organization. I think that dedication and commitment to learning really does go a long way. And I think, as adults, we kind of never stop learning. And I think it's important for people to really kind of think about what they're passionate about doing. And it's okay to make a career change, later in life. And a lot of our students are adult students, learners who have families, who have other jobs and are thinking of a career change because they've been exposed to an industry in a different way. I think it's about finding that balance between work, education, and family that is really important. I would definitely encourage students, who perhaps maybe have done what I did. They did a part-time job in a hospital kitchen or in a long-term care facility to really think about, expanding that knowledge base and doing more and learning more because the industry is huge. There's the frontline component, there's the manager component, that is very different, but essentially still very integral to the service industry. instinct for us is when you start a new job or, you do a career change, you want to work, work, work. You want to give your 150% all the time. You will burn out. And I think the one thing that's important that, people need to realize is that finding that balance is the key. You need to take time for yourself. There's always going to be work to do. That work will always be there and it continues to grow and grow and grow. But I think it's important for, any individual to kind of stop and do a personal check-in, which is what I call it. And sometimes I know when I'm feeling a little overwhelmed and not able to balance, multiple commitments, multiple priorities, I have to step back and, say to myself, okay, I need to become the focus, of me now, because in order for me to do what I need to do, I need to be, both mentally prepared to do it, and there has to be that well-being and confidence to move forward. So, doing that quick check-in with yourself really, really does help. And I encourage my managers. I have 6 managers that report directly to me across the 3 sites, and I always encourage them to take a break. Like, don't think you have to work all day. Don't eat at your desk. Don't have coffee at your desk. Get up, walk, just walk away for a couple of minutes, engage with the staff. It gives you that opportunity to not only engage and connect, but it also gives you a chance to kind of revitalize and say, okay, I stepped away. Now I can go back and, take things on head on. Personal well-being is so, so very important. Like I said, in terms of a skill set, emotional intelligence, a term, and I think that really is becoming, at the forefront, especially post-COVID. I think as managers, it's important to have that high level of emotional intelligence. You need to be self-aware. You need to be able to recognize, what triggers you. When are you most comfortable? What stresses you out? Like, it's that whole personal awareness that is very, very important. The other skill that I think it's that empathy and compassion. We're all human. And that's the initial part too, is we're all human first. And you can't influence, lead, coach, mentor a team unless you have, that own personal kind of emotional intelligence to be able to do that. People need to feel comfortable approaching you with their issues, to say, you know what, I'm feeling stressed out. I need some help. There has to be that comfort level, amongst the team. In terms of some other kind of skills that I think are essential is communication, and that being both clear and concise. As managers, we have to be able to influence, we have to be able to provide direction, right, to our teams, while ensuring, that any of the strategic goals and departmental goals are being met. But the only way to do this is to have those trusting personal relationships with open and honest communication. It's part about building, I think, trust too with your team. Is if they see that you're transparent and honest, they will be more willing to be, upfront and open to communicate, to pop in, to say, hey, I have an idea, and so forth. I'm all about that, and if there's something that I don't know, or I always will say to employee, you know what? I really don't know the answer to that, but let me find out and get back to you. And I think it's important to close that communication loop, but it's transparency goes a long way as a manager. Yeah, so I mean, we all know the pandemic certainly changed everything for not just, our industry as a food service industry, but I think just for the global economy as a whole. It really forced us to think outside of the box and develop those critical thinking skills that, we ran across, supply chain issues, sustainability of menus, and so forth. But one of the things I think too that has come to the forefront is social responsibility. And we're starting to see it a little bit more and more, where sustainability, in processes, in food products, and the social responsibility is coming to a forefront. So food waste is a huge issue for a lot of facilities. And we're starting to look at it from a twofold perspective: is how is it affecting the bottom line? but how is it affecting the environmental perspective? So we're starting to see that come up as, an important trend for our industry. The other thing is the plant-based global cuisines, diversity and inclusion and so forth. Our patients, residents are looking for diverse food options, and we're seeing that more and more, even in healthcare facilities. They want diverse flavors, they want fresh food, they want local food, and it all kind of goes back to that, social, environmental kind of sustainability. The other thing that has really started to emerge now is the use of AI. So we're starting to look at robotics, and having these autonomous kind of robots in our facilities, being able to do meal delivery, so tray delivery, distribution of nourishments. We see them in environmental services a lot. We have these autonomous kind of robotic scrubbers and so forth, but we are starting to see that technology emerge, into the food service platform as well. Not to want to replace the workforce, but I think we need to move forward with the technological advances and use the skill set of the staff in other ways. So that is absolutely coming, to the forefront. So I think that, patient-centered care, client-centered care really does foster those respectful, kind of compassionate relationships that, patients and residents are expecting from us. The reality is we all want to be treated with dignity and respect, right? No matter, where we come from and where we happen to land. And our patients and residents expect the same. We need to ensure that we're communicating, that we're listening, and that's both an affirmation to the patient, but it's also useful information for us, right, to better enhance our operations. Sometimes I think it's really difficult for us to implement and, meet all of the needs of our patients. And I can only imagine, what patients go through, or a resident, when they're away from what they know as home, and they're unsure of, clinical outcomes, perhaps if you're a patient in a hospital. So it's important that we collaborate, with the patients. And from a food service perspective, the one thing that we can do is give them a choice, right? Give them the choice to make a meal selection, give them the opportunity to provide you with that feedback, to voice an opinion, to voice a concern. Sometimes it may be a compliment. I think it's important for managers that we are, kind of responsive, to that we affirm, we listen, and that will certainly also guide kind of our strategic goal planning, right? It's that patient satisfaction, the resident satisfaction, those comments and things that we hear that kind of guide what we do from year to year. And they contribute to those overall, goals and so forth. And one thing that I've always said to my team is if we include patients in our processes, so we have patient family advisors that sit on various committees. So, whether they're a patient who has been in our hospital and has participated in our meal services, we invite them to participate in various committees. So menu committee, for example. And when we think about long-term care, like residents council, great opportunity for us to put the patient or the resident at the focus and at the center, of our care. Patient satisfaction definitely goes up when we engage, collaborate, and include the voice of the patient, really.
For sure. And I mean, you say it goes up, and I know that, that is measured too, right? Like there's so many ways to measure that, and it's been proven. And that element of choice is so important. And I love hearing about, the passion behind it too. Like I like listening to you talk about it, because you can tell that you're so interested and that it is something that's really important to you. And I really appreciate the care that you put into what you do. So
and I think it's important, as managers to model that behavior and model that insight, because the staff do feed off of that, right? If they have a leader that they're reporting to that is passionate, that demonstrates that commitment, to the operation, to the patient, to the service we provide, to health and safety, they will also model that behavior. We know that. Like that is absolutely proven. So I think it's twofold, right? So there's the element of cultural appropriate foods and diversity in terms of, offering diverse menu options to our patients. So we need to be able to think outside of the box, kind of, and look at, menu options that are going to, celebrate the differences and the diverse populations that we're serving. So, for example, celebrating various cultures, and special days and offering, themes and specialized food items. We really need to start expanding, to the general meat and potatoes that we're all, kind of accustomed to doing, and expand what our patients are looking for. And then there's also that piece about creating an equitable and inclusive workplace, right? So embracing and acknowledging that we have a diverse team of employees. The staff need to feel valued, respected, and empowered, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, gender, etc. We're all different. That's the reality. But we all have unique experiences and values that we bring, to a department, to an organization. And I think we empower staff when we embrace those differences. And, when we recognize that we are all unique as part of this inclusivity process. What I have learned, just with the staff that I manage, is that when we embrace those differences and recognize that we're all different, we're all unique, and we're all here for the same reason, staff feel empowered. There's better performance and innovation, and they're more engaged, to contribute to the overall goals. They want to be here. They want to be included. They want to do a good job.